Okay, so I haven't done anything yet, but I want to record this as I go along, and I'll cut out any troubles that I have. So hopefully the end result of this video won't contain too many errors. So first off, the new unit test folder I created. It's under here, which I'm calling frame windows. This is I guess analogous to NFC's frame windows. Although I don't know if we'll have a special class. And now here's the template project for this set of unit tests. And I created, using my copy project, this here. There's a standard icon that you would replace when you add a new project. I just did. And again, to the rescue, save my icon. See this icon? That's a large version of this 256 by 256 version, which I could have just removed that, but I don't have to, so I kept it. That's why this is quite big. The original was small because this was compressed PNG for the large icon, but this compiler can't handle compressed. Okay, now I added that menu test here. And that should just run as the other hello world program did or does. Did you notice? Did you notice? Did you notice a glitch right there? Just now? I think I mentioned it before. Well, before, after, whatever. I don't use time travel a lot. And I try not to abuse it, as it were. But in this case, I had to use the time travel service because of all the various diversions that occurred following this point. Actually put it later, but this seemed like an opportune position to be able to reconstruct a simulate something that looks like what you were looking at those many hours ago. I mean, you wouldn't have noticed the time change, but you might have noticed that this icon is different, and there's an extra thing here. But this is a fake. It's just a fake reproduction of the best I can drum up quickly to make it look authentic. Now, to do with the diversions, see, the reason I had to stop is because in the first go at this, you see, there were 5 separate, quite long diversions. One to do with WM paint handling, and then this window class loading and setting up things like icons and menus and whatnot. And then this filters has to do with the debugging output. When you run the program, I don't run it, but it can produce, you can have a debug trace like this on. That's obviously on in this case. I run this I won't run it just yet. Yeah, well, now the trace is full of a lot of junk messages, and so I have a set of standard ones to exclude from the printout. But sometimes you want them back, so I wasted time making a function when I already had one. It does it. Okay, so now we were talking about WM Paint handling, and then I mentioned again about the fact that if you have a brush, you don't need to handle WM Paint, right? And to prove that, I went into here, and basically I have this. So here, this is saying I've handled it, and therefore no def window proc or anything gets called. And lo and behold, it works. You still get the blue background. Okay, no problem. Then I said, now see, now what do you think would happen if I claim I handled every message and don't do anything, right? So basically, actually, this was still here at the time, probably. I just returned from, I just said, be handled equals true, return. And what did I get? I got a white window. That's right. I'm certain I got a white window. No, I didn't. I got an invisible window. I think. I can't remember. Well, let's try. I gotta return things to the way that the other thing's set past. There's something else I had to return 0. Okay, I've handled every message and I've done nothing. What are we gonna get? I can tell you now that we're either gonna get a white window, a white box, let's say, or something invisible, but that's still there. I forget which we're going to get. I believe we're going to get white. There it is, white. Okay. Now, question is, well, first off, this is certainly a window, right? Now my debug tracing is on, and there are no messages coming in, right? Oh, no, now there's something happened. But no messages. What if I click or something? Spacebar. Nothing, because I'm saying I've handled everything, right? And so nothing's allowed to get in. I can't exit nothing to kill it this way. Okay. So now that's one thing. Oh, well, no, the debug trace wasn't on now, was it? Okay, simple enough. What I'll do is I'll simply return, okay, first I'll turn from here. Let's see what happens in this case. Just turn on the trace and that's it. Now we're getting the window. It's working perfectly. Yeah, I got some. Oh, I know why. Okay. No, we gotta return. We still gotta return in the other cases. Okay, now what are we gonna get? Just want to see if we get any messages. Okay, we are getting messages. That's good. Because I was expecting that, at least the keyboard. Alright. But it's still a white box, right? Now, you might have noticed that this box is of a certain size, and that size doesn't look anything like the size that the window usually is. And now why do you suppose that is? Take a guess. Okay, well what I'll do here is instead of not resizing it, I'll resize it. I won't center it. I'll let it resize here. Okay. Now that should resize the entire window. Okay. Okay. Hello. Oh. Well, that's odd. Here's the window. But where is it? The window's there. Oh, I'm clicking on it. See? Oh, okay, well I should... Oh, right. I gotta click this debugger. Stop. It's trying to stop. It'll stop eventually. Maybe I can kill this. It can't respond to a WM close message, but I don't know if I kill that process, which is called menu test. Is it gone? It says it's killed. Certainly gone. But this thing is hung on. Now I'm into another diversion. Getting back to the diversion. So let's hope that thing will come back to life eventually. So now, totally unhandled, gave us a white window. If I remember just what just happened seconds ago. And then, okay, now I realized I'd spent way too much time, and we're already gearing up for retake number 3. But I think we're just going to stick to the retakes, and then I'll do the whole thing, the real video, next video. Alright, now again I go and re-explain again about these, trying to explain the difference between load in the wind class struct and set, like setting a value and loading a value are not the same thing. Oh, it did come back to life. Great. He was trying to print out all these goddamn messages. Okay. Now where is that? Now, if I say set icon to h icon, right? I would like that to just simply set the value at just assignment, right? Don't do anything. Just set. Here's a number. Here's a number. Please set the icon part equal to that. And so all of these things are set. And it turns out that I thought that I needed a load version for icon, but and one could but I don't, in fact, need this. Set is enough. So it turns out that that was just completely a waste of time. But in the future, there should be a load brush. No, yeah, maybe. Maybe there should only be sets. So we'll leave that in. And now here I'm calling load icon. But I shouldn't. Oh, I see. Now remember, okay, now set icon takes an H icon, right? But all I have to do is add a set icon that takes an identifier instead. UNIDI, right? In that case, we need to say load. The result is a load, but it's okay, it's no problem. Because we don't have to free anything, right? So I would like to set the icon for my class. No. So funny. It's so funny. It has to be load. Because, you see, you can pass in, masquerading as an H icon, an identifier that you just want to set, right? Now, if I know a function just sets a thing, then I can do that, right? But if I've got two sets, one taking an H icon and one taking an identifier, then I'm going to make a mistake when I want the identifier interpreted as an H icon. So I've got to make sure the person calling this function is aware of the fact that this here is assuming that this identifier is to be interpreted as identifying a resource in the program. So the load icon is correct. On the other hand, set menu also takes a resource identifier, and there are things such as handles to menus, right? But it turns out that the window class structure doesn't ever contain a handle to a menu, actually. We never do need to pass it. This is why it's set. Sorry. Because maybe that's why they do it this way. Because in this particular case of the menu, right? Now I split it up to make it clear. Both of these are sets. If it's a string identifier, it's a string identifier. This is the same. This function and this function do exactly the same thing, except this casts a number as if it were a string. And this here just takes a string and interprets it as a string, right? For If I have an H icon and I just want to set that equal to the value called set. If I have an identifier, then okay, well, it turns out there's a load, but who cares? There's a load. Big deal. Is that correct? Okay. It sets the icon in correspondence with an identifier. And I hope that makes any sense. Now what I did was, oh God, this is still here. Okay, let's go back to that diversion list. So there was a big discussion on when are we does it matter if in the window class struct, the functions that we call in the window class struct, if they load something from the resource executable resource, do we need to make that explicit in those set calls by not calling them set? And so far the answer is no, but that could change. Now, we haven't actually reproduced this. This was not here. We're in the right file at least, menu test. So let's go back. Let's go back to the do nothing case and see if we get the same result. So here we are handling every message, and our handler doesn't do anything. Otherwise, we're taking defaults for everything. I think we're not going to get any visible white window. I think. H instance. Well, this might not be true in DLLs or whatever, but we don't have that problem. We could pass it. H instances. No. Load icon is not a member of. That's true. I called it. I renamed it back to set. Well, I prefer load. Looks more like what's happening. Now we do get a white window. Okay, fair enough. But look how big it is. And the debug traces on or on. I don't know. It might be on, it might be off. It's on. Oh, no, it's nothing. It's not anything. Well, what if we do this? And turn this off because it takes a long time to process those. Okay. Now, there's a window there as well. You'll notice it's centered because I centered it. And I can click here. Hang on. Oh. It's in front. At 22, on this side, it ends. We can't see it, but I know it's there. Now I'm going to go to this side. And that's, okay, column 8 and 80. Okay, so 70 something columns. Alright, now about the white window. Well, now it's unfortunate because the white window, even though it's obviously a much bigger, right? That led to another diversion. But I've skipped all the way down to this diversion. In the meantime, what happened was I went into a discussion about, again, going back to this loading and setting. The question is, this here function returns a handle to an icon, right? But this handle you shouldn't have to free, I don't think. I doubt it. Maybe you do. But when would you free it? You know, that's your program icon. You would free it just before your program dies. And plus, it's taking, well, it might use some system resources to allocate a handle, but the data is already in the program. So it doesn't, all it's doing is allocating like 4 bytes for a pointer to your data where the icon is located. On the other hand, if you let's suppose you obtained your H icon from another process and copied it, like I have to do with this program sometimes, right? Then, in that case, then the icon has to be deleted because it's a system resource, basically. It has to be deleted from the system, not from your program or your particular address space, but a global system-wide resource has been created, and you have to delete it, I think. Menu's okay. I thought there was something like load menu, but there isn't. It's just a name. So that's fine. That's already assumed to be in your program. So there would, there's no handle. Although menus have handles, there's no handle to menu entry. In the Wind class structure doesn't have such a thing. Then I got curious, and I decided to set the style, instead of having it be equal to this, set it to nothing. See, the reason that window becomes invisible instead of white, the centered one, is because it gets redrawn, right? But I'm not handling redraw. So I had a theory that initially the device context is built, filled up with white, which is everything F's. And then when you resize something, redraw message, the paint, it gets invalidated, so everything's cleared out, everything, and these windows can have transparency. Well, it doesn't even matter. It's completely invalidated. The device context doesn't exist. It has to be recreated and redrawn. But I'm not handling that. And so I've had a theory that if I remove this style and let it center, that I would see a centered white rectangle. That's what I thought. And is it true? The answer is no. That assumption was false. Are we still on that case? Yeah. No centered white window. It's still transparent. Oh, not zero. What styles do we need? Well, zero. Okay. I don't want those, so I want zero. By the way, the menu works great. And now, hang on a second here. Oh, I'm not centering it. I'm going to center it. Back to win crop. And all we're going to do is, we'll move this here. So we change the size and we center it, but we're not going to get any notifiers for any of that. Changing of size or moving. So in theory, it should retain its white character. Does it? And the answer, no. Here it is. It's definitely in front. I can't click here. Is it the right size? Yeah, it's the right size, 80 something. And it should, yeah, see? Correct size, everything. So this style it's supposed to tell it to try to redraw when it moves, and that has nothing to do with the white rectangle. Why do we get white? I don't know. Why is it different size? Now the different size part. Wait, hang on, we're not done yet. Okay. Yeah, okay, I talked about this. So we've got resources that are embedded in your binary image, but those don't need to be freed, I don't think. Or at worst, I could add it at the constructor here, if h icon delete icon or something. But I don't think I have to. String IDs. Oh yes. Then I got onto this topic to do with my alarm clock program. I was trying to give an example of what you would call when these resource identifiers are not just numbers, and you don't have to use this make int resource macro. You just set it as a string. And I thought, oh yeah, my alarm clock has a custom resource. Did you know you can make a resource any kind, like you can add a, suppose I want to add a resource, new resource, and I want to say custom, and I'm going to call it I don't know, any name I like. It doesn't matter. It's custom. The type is the type of resource, not the resource itself. Identifier. That's where I got messed up. So, like an example is Alan's special resource, right? Well, okay, it's true, the type, this resource type is a string, and it's a binary resource, and this is binary editor, right? And doesn't matter, I can use any name I like. And what is this thing? Suppose I save this and go out into resource.h. It's a number, see? It's not a string identifier. So I went through all this trouble to show you my alarm clock program, which uses I made up a special resource type called wave, W-A-V-E, wave, which contains a wave file, and that's what makes the alarm sound. It's a special song. But I could just as easily use this instead of the word wave, and because the way that the alarm thing works. I don't know if I still got it in there. Is it calls a function, and it just loads the resource by name with its identifier, pass the identifier to the function, and the function, I don't have it. Alarm. Alright. So now the alarm thing has a thing I called wave, but the resource identifier is not a string, it's a number. And in order to play the sound, it's called the mic. I stole this from the Windows startup sounds. To play the sound, so all you do is you say play sound, turn this into, make int resource, so turn this into interpret as a string, which will be reinterpreted as an integer again, and then you tell it that you tell the function play sound whether or not to interpret this thing as a resource identifier or as a string. So you need to pass it in as a string, but then you got to tell it again. I just hit F1, so that's why there's a come on. Why did I close that? It'll never get there. It'll never find it. Oh, no. See? What's iUser notification? Play sound. This is the one I want. When I type it here, it gives me the right one. First you have to pass it a string. Notice that it won't take a Unicode string. Module and D-word flags. String specifies the sound to play. Actually, how does it know which type it is? Okay, it's not a file name, it's not an alias. It's a resource. Okay, so now it knows it's a resource ID, not alias, not async. Where's resource gone? The parameter is a resource identifier. Okay, well, the program itself I should have it in my utils directory, not those utils. Alarm, so I've got to put it in my startup. Has something with identifier 135. Well, I assume there's nothing else with that identifier. But it's possible you could. I'm not sure how. But I guess you just got to make sure that this doesn't conflict with any other resource. Because nowhere in here am I specifying the string wave. Let's make sure of that. Nothing. Right? And the resource file or resource file here. Ah, okay. It's a special type called wave. And that's the string ID. Okay. See, this says icon, right? In the resource view, which you can't see two at once. I'm going to save this somewhere. D10. RC. Okay, great. So now we can see the resource file at the same time as the resource. There's an icon. Now this word certainly corresponds with this. Now wave, this says wave and this says wave. And I bet if I change that, it wouldn't work. I bet these are also string identifiers. Must be. There's no number called icon, right? And this is not a predefined type, I don't think. It might be. But then if it was, it would have to, I would have to I would have to add weight. There's no selection for add weight resource here. But anyway, that's a string identifier that's not, it's possible for these like I don't know, one of these could be a string, if you know what I mean. Or one of these can be a string. That's you can make it. You can make an identifier, and you can just define it as a string, and pass it in as a string, and use the same resource files. But you have to be able to add it. String resource. I don't know how to do that. A string identifier. Insert weight. Now it appears here as a new type. What if I say wave custom? That's what type. Import. I don't know. I really can't tell you. Okay, now we're almost through all the diversions. Next, back with WMP completely unhandled. We saw that. WinProp completely unhandled. If we get rid of that. Open up magic, go away. Delete. Save. Delete. Alright. Now, here's the thing. Let's go back to this scenario. Here we have WMP completely unhandled. I'm going to turn on the debug trace. Turn on the console. So we can see the tracing. And now let's see what happens. It's handled, sorry, but it's not doing anything. It's claimed to be handled, but there's no actual handling. I thought there was only one question to be answered in this case, whether or not it draws correctly. The answer to that question is yes. But you see this? All these paint messages? The reason we're seeing those is because I removed the that's one of my standard filters, but maybe it needn't be. And even here, it's they're pouring out. The program is working correctly, right? But it shouldn't be getting all these paint. However, now by doing this, that means that def window prop would not have been called. So here's my guess. So you can do this all in one line. All I got to do is do a begin and end paint, and you're going to see that I won't get those extra paint messages. See, they're gone. Like the default handler, whether or not it's actually calling begin and end paint, this has the same effect in that it tells the system that this thing has actually been painted. Saying you painted it by not calling def window proc is not that's not a way to say that you painted it, right? Def window proc in this particular case is responsible for saying that is responsible for the default action, which is not the painting. The painting happens without def window proc, but def window proc says to the system that it no longer requires any more update, right? Because the system knows it has a brush, and the system knows that when it has a brush, it has to keep drawing this box until there's no more need to, and there's no need to, so it stops drawing the box. And that's what def window proc would do in that case. So here I've implemented def window proc for WM Paint. The other option is to simply say that we haven't handled it, and then it'll go to the real def window proc, and it'll be the same. See? Alright, now I tried to omit those, it didn't make any difference. The only time we got the white window was on when we didn't handle WM create. And we didn't call the default WM create, right? So if nothing else happens, if you create a window and don't do anything else, you get a white box, and a persistent white box that never gets overwritten. Now then, the last and final diversion, before I go on to the next video, was the last thing I was trying to explain, and which they must change in this version of Windows, because I'm pretty sure Notepad, this program Notepad, you see the size it is when I started out, and now I'm going to run another one. Well, it's exactly the same size as the last one, but it's also in the same position. Now I'm going to try something. I gotta get rid of this. All notepads. Before I do that, I'm going to change the size. See, I don't think it used to do that. It goes back to the same position with the same size as the last instance that died had. Unlike a real program that uses what this uses, I don't want to do that anymore. In fact, I don't want a debug trace, and I don't want this thing. Everything's okay, we're back to a regular window, and I'm just going to keep running it, and I'm going to be taking the default the default, keeping the default style, the default class, oh no, window, sorry, the default window style size is use default. I'm pretty sure Notepad used to have the same thing. And the default is that same size, white as that white window you saw. But further than that, it has a funny property and a useful property that I used to take advantage of. Now I can't, like with Notepad. No, I gotta not change. I don't want to. I want to take the defaults. Well, it doesn't matter. If I say I have handled that or not. I don't think. Yeah, okay, see? That's that size. I'm going to run it again. Okay. Let me get rid of this one. Now, the way it goes is it cascades until it hits a certain point. I think I probably hit it. And the advantage to that is that you get to see all your windows. You get to select which. Well, for one thing, you can see the order in which they were created, right? You know that this is the first one I made, and then the next, and so on. And Notepad used to do that. It looks like there's one underneath here, but that's like this. I think regedit maybe is the default. I think rather, yeah, now it's back to the top again. So that explains the size of that weirdo window. That's simply the default size. The position depends on the class object. So if it's the same window class and you run one instance of the window and then another, always using defaults, then you get the cascade. And that is that for the diversions. And the next time I'm going to show you, I'm going to put this back. If you didn't notice, the menu, which does, now I want the thing back again. Now I want the tracing back with filters. I don't want doubling up paint. You see that for one thing, there's a notification to do with hovering over it, and it tells you something as you move the mouse over, and if you click on one of them, you get a WM command of some sort, just like a pop-up menu. Well, it is a pop-up menu. And how did I make this? There was nothing to it. I just made it just by typing in this box. Okay, see you then.